is show up and demand your ballot. It's called ballot on demand. So I walked into the elections division today and I demanded my ballot. And they gave it to me. They had me fill out the application, but they handed me a ballot and I voted and I followed the instructions and I handed it back to them. And so here on September 17th, I've had a COVID test and I voted in 2020, right? So one of the things we want to talk about with ballot on demand, if you don't want to stand in line on election day, come down to the courthouse. 8:30 a.m., 4:30 p.m., you can vote. Starting on October 1st, we're going to have expanded hours. We're going to be there from 8 to 8 so that people can come in, demand their ballot, and vote. If you don't want to stand in a long line on election day, Mrs. Ferraro, come in and vote. So that's what we want to do. Now, folks need to know about ballot on demand. If you're on the mail-in ballot list, you can't walk in and get your ballot. You have to wait for it to be mailed to you. We're hoping that those ballots will be finished printed, stuffed into their envelopes, and mailed out next week. That's our hope for that. But ballot on demand. So it was cool. It was a little weird to have voted already on a November 3rd or September 17th for a November 3rd election, but that is the case. So 2020, in our pandemic protection plan, I wanted you to know that the second wave of small business checks have landed. All of our small businesses now have their CARES money. So we threw those small businesses a lifeline. We're helping them survive and thrive, and it's not just a slogan. I've received a bunch of communication from many businesses indicating that indeed it is a lifeline, indicating that you are helping them survive and thrive. And just so we all know, and our public knows, what we have done to assist small business in these troubled times. In round one, 302 businesses received $3,990,000. In round two, 349 businesses received $4,510,000, for a total of 651 businesses in every corner of Northampton County. 651 businesses in every corner of Northampton County received $8,548,641. That's your pandemic protection plan. I know on your agenda tonight, and I was teasing a little bit about CCAP before, and I know you can't get together with your CCAP friends, but one of these days you might be able to. We were talking about how, you said, you're not getting to go to those meetings, and they're all virtual now, and I see that, and that's unfortunate, but one of these days, hopefully. You have agenda items tonight as part of the pandemic protection plan. Item 4, item 5, item 6. These items will help lay the groundwork for the recovery when it comes. So Northampton County folks are doing a great job wearing masks. They're going to continue to do that through the fall and winter because we need to do that. A vaccine will eventually arrive. Things will start to get back to normal, but you will have planted the seeds for small business and for larger businesses, for manufacturing to survive and thrive. So I encourage you to vote for the Ben Franklin Technology Partners. I encourage you to vote for the community college, and I encourage you to do these things that we need to do for small businesses, the SBDC portion of that, in order for us to keep moving the pandemic protection plan forward. Let me round back to Graysdale. We are in a place where we may very soon be able to go to step 2. And that would lead us to be able to start in-person visitations. And we could potentially, pending the result of one test, be able to start that next week. So, where have we been? Every single resident at Graysdale has been tested. Every single employee at Graysdale has been tested. We are testing routinely now, which is part of the reason why I myself submitted to the test. I think it's important that we demonstrate that kind of leadership. I need to tell you that in the first round of the testing, there were 6 out of all of our nearly 700 employees, there were 6 positive tests from the rapid testing. 6 positive tests from the rapid testing, and lo and behold, we thought we went down that chute and the chutes and ladders and we had to start all over again. And we'd be further and further away from our goal. But something very interesting happened. When that wonderful person who was our one positive resident was retested using the PCR, which is the more invasive Q-tip further back in your nose than I went through today, she was negative for COVID. So we are making an argument, Jen Stewart-King is making an argument to the Department of Health as we speak, that that shouldn't be counted against us. So you're saying to me, Lamont, what about these 6 other negatives? Well, those 6 negatives panicked the Department of Health. And let me say this, I am so grateful to the Department of Health for what they've done throughout this whole process, and I am heartened by the fact that the Department of Health was ready to call the Pennsylvania National Guard to Graysdale this weekend to test everybody because we had those 6 positives. Now, I was like, whoa, hold on, let's not panic here. I'm not panicking, don't you? So they retested everybody using the more invasive PCR method. Lo and behold, nobody's positive at Graysdale. Wow. Nobody's positive. So using the more sensitive, more invasive PCR testing, we have no positive cases at Graysdale. We have one resident pending. And as I've said, if she comes back, that person comes back negative, we're good to go for our in-person visitation. But the safety of our employees and our residents is first and foremost. It trumps everything else. After everything we've been through, all the painful loss that we've suffered, safety of the residents and our employees comes first. So we're going to do testing. And by the way, when those people who aren't actually negative popped negative on the instant test, we sent them home. So they weren't exposing anyone in the home. We have this down. Look, is it perfect? No. Will we have outbreaks again? We may very well. But we are going to do everything we can to mitigate. So that's the news out of Graysdale. And I think you folks should know that they are doing a tremendous job out there. It's amazing what they're doing. And we know how hard it is on the families and the residents not to be able to visit. And they are doing everything they possibly can to get to that step where visitations can take place. We have some news on our testing site front. And Mr. Giovanni, if you wouldn't mind passing those around. So a coordinated health, Lehigh Valley Health Network has been an excellent partner of ours since we formed this collaboration. And while you're passing that around, let me just offer as preamble the thought that I have that it is so important that we continue to do this testing, especially with school back in session, with sports being played more and more often now. I think having this collaboration with Coordinated Health and Lehigh Valley is extremely important. As we head into the cold and flu season, I think it's extremely important that we have this collaboration ongoing with Coordinated Health Lehigh Valley Hospital. I think it's going to be it's going to give us a ability to pick up trends in the society with respect to infection rates. And we'll be able to get those people home, quarantining, and not out infecting other people, which is the contribution that you are making, that we are making to this endeavor. I wanted to sort of go over with you what it's cost so far to do this. So in the billing for July and August, you have paid $8,060. That's all so far, $8,060. You've had 380, as you can see there, 382 people were tested, and you've only paid for 12 folks because all the rest have had insurance. So I think there were 5 in July and 7 in August that were uninsured. So this is all very good news. I think you can see there that we're running at about, what, a 3.5% positive rate? Do I have that right? Is that right? Yeah. So it's still out there, right? The virus is still out there floating around. And we need to, as leaders of our community, make it perfectly clear, despite the fact that we all have fatigue, we all have COVID fatigue. We are all over coronavirus, but it's not over us. We are all over wearing our masks. We are, but the coronavirus is not over us, and we can't be over wearing our masks. As we come into cold and flu season, we have to emphasize the wearing of masks. And I think what we've done here in the county is an example of how screening for temperatures and mask wearing can be so successful. To date, to my knowledge, since we returned full-time on May 18th, we have not had one employee of this county positive for COVID-19. These masks work. The prison, we have not had one positive COVID-19 case since we went to universal masking and got that all under control. Now, recently, a prisoner was transferred to us from Lehigh County. This prisoner had court here in Northampton County. This prisoner was positive for COVID-19 based on the testing that we performed. He was isolated on K-tier based upon our regulations. He was only in our facility between 10 and 12 hours because he made bail, so he was out on the street. This was several days ago, so we're monitoring that situation very closely, but as of tonight, there are no employees of NCP who have COVID-19, and there are no other inmates who have COVID-19. So we're very fortunate in that regard, and the truth of the matter is, some people will come into the prison with COVID-19. There's no way to control that. But our mitigation efforts are in place, and we're working on that. But back to our testing center. Coordinated Health Lehigh Valley Hospital has approached us with a very interesting offer. They need, in their view, to be able to do their preoperative COVID testing someplace. And they have suggested to us that they should use the drive-through that they have in collaboration with us at their place as their preoperative testing for COVID-19. And this makes a whole lot of sense. And so what are the parameters of the deal? There would be a 50-50 split on personnel costs. There would be an increased hours of operations. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday would be 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday would be 12 p.m. to 7 p.m. to catch the folks who work 9 to 5. And then Saturdays, every Saturday, would be 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. We will see more folks that way. And I will tell you, as you can see from looking at the chart, we were running in the single digits. The last several days, we've been in the double digits, and it's on an uptick. The supposition is because school's back. So that's the supposition. And my supposition, as we continue to be in person in these hybrid formats, we're going to see more and more people, and we really need to be here for our citizens so that we can catch this early so the infection doesn't become more widespread than it would have to be. So how it would be defined is Lehigh Valley Coordinated Health will provide testing for asymptomatic pre-procedure patients and employees who require COVID-19 testing. And employees, this is important to me, and employees of colleges, universities, and Northampton County employees who need symptomatic or asymptomatic testing. This is a big change. This asymptomatic testing is, it is a change that we have, I think many of us have felt has been necessary for quite some time. We're really excited about that. So an estimated personnel cost and PPE, if you will, all kinds of PPs, PPE to date has been $5,370. The 382 tests to date at $100 per test is $38,200. And our estimated total maximum for all of that we'll owe eventually will be $43,570. So you can see, I believe you set aside originally 300. We can do this enhanced program with coordinated health till November 23rd, based on the budget we already have. And I think we may even be able to extend it out longer than that, but November 23rd would be the day the MOU would end, the new MOU would end, and then we'd have to look at it again to see if we had any money left. But that's what's going on, and that's the update on that. And on that note, I do not have anything else to report. Any questions?
Questions for the county executive? I saw that, two things. One, I saw the Eastern Express, they did an article, I guess Cedar Brook is gonna start doing what we're gonna be doing.
Right.
And they're doing, I think, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon. Have we defined hours, how many hours yet people, they'll be like for visiting?
I think our program, I think you'll be very pleased. I don't know the answer specifically,
Okay.
but based on my general impression from the conversations I've had with Ms. Stewart King, we'll have more hours than that.
Okay.
And interestingly, they haven't done any testing yet, any universal testing.
Oh, the other thing.
They're gonna do it in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
I mean, testing is a good thing. The only question I had was, since they're gonna be doing pre-op testing.
Yes.
Are they gonna keep track of their pre-op versus ours? Just,
Yes.
I mean, testing in any case is great. Having said that, because, I mean, they're not limited then. If they have a pre-op patient who lives on the Lehigh County side of Shanersville and for some reason is over this way, they'll stop it and get.
They're already not limited. We would already test that person, even if they weren't
Oh.
coming for surgery. Yes, a part of the original deal was that you could come from anywhere to get tested. You just wouldn't have your test paid for unless you were a Northampton County resident without health insurance.
All right, yeah, so, all right, so they're keeping track of who's.
Yes.
We're getting,
Everybody has their own patient record.
thank you. Mr. Myers.
To hear you correct on that, is this Coordinated Health or Lehigh Valley Hospital is doing the testing?
It's coordinated health in conjunction with Lehigh Valley Hospital, and Health Network Labs, which is owned by Lehigh Valley Hospital, is actually reviewing the tests.
Okay. The only other second question I had, I asked this earlier, but I'll ask it again. When the prisoner comes in, and is he put in an isolated chamber until he makes his court appearance?
It's not an isolation chain. Don't think of it as a bubble, but there is a tier.
yeah.
There is an intake tier where they have to stay for a certain period of time. And Mr. Bartholomew's here. Can you answer that, Mark? This is Mr. He'll introduce himself.
Okay.
So if you could explain how the quarantine works.
Sure. My name is Mark Bartholomew, the Deputy Warden of Classification at the jail. Basically, how the quarantine works is that when an individual is booked into the jail, they are COVID tested, and they remain in a quarantine unit until we get a negative result on that test. So then once we get a negative result from the nasal swab, at that point, they are cleared to go into general population.
But we're talking about folks that are just making appearances. They get the same treatment?
Anyone that walks into the jail, any new intake gets a COVID test walking into the jail.
So if there's any extra costs incurred, can we kick it back to wherever they came from?
Probably not. No.
Should we try it anyway? I'm greedy.
Mr. Durger will send him an invoice.
Okay. Thank you for that response. I have no other questions.
Mr. Lott.
Yes, Ms. McClure, did we get any, do you have any idea how we've been doing with the 48 hours from Lehigh Valley Labs? Have they been close to that 40? I mean, that to me was so important.
They've been running in 1 or 2 days. Is that right, Tina? 2 to 3 now?
Yeah.
2 to 3.
2 to 3, which is still
Not
a
7.
lot better
Yeah.
than a lot of them. They would probably, I would imagine, they'd want to keep this program going. It saves them a little money, I'd imagine, in conjunction with us. So they may want to keep this program going longer than we are currently budgeted for. Is that what I'm hearing?
They may.
So it may come back to us at that point to decide if we want to continue or not.
Right, but our spend today is about 43,000, we think. So, you know, a couple more months, we may be able to get beyond the November 23rd date. But yes,
23rd.
the answer to your question is yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'll go to Mr. McGee.
Mr. McGee.
Question on your first topic you spoke about in the beginning of your report with the voting. Is there some kind of a broad range county, are we going to get the word out other than the newspaper? The newspaper, I'm sure it's going to be on the news, but how are people to know that they can come in and vote on demand?
Well, so it's on the Northampton County Facebook page tonight
Okay.
that you can do that. I will be talking about it. We'll be talking about it at the county Facebook page. I have not spoken with Ms. Cozy about a letter. We
Okay.
might do that.
Okay,
But right now, but so you know, sir, right now they're focused on getting the ballots printed, getting them back
Getting
and
them
getting them out. That's really the focus here.
I understand.
Okay.
Thank you.
But you're right, we need to do education about that
Nice.
because no one knows.
If you can.
What?
I'm sorry.
Follow up on something, Mr. Myers.
I heard the county exec say focusing on getting them printed. Are we able to do that yet? Did that get settled?
Oh, yeah, it's fine. We have a vendor.
Okay.
Yep.
So we can print our ballots. I thought there was a case with the Green Party and the Democrats.
It's over. The Supreme Court ended it.
It's over. Oh, I
Yep.
missed that. Where was
Yep.
I? Okay,
Today.
thank you.
It happened today.
Yeah, they just issued the order this morning, I believe.
Oh, that's great news.
Yeah,
Very
it's
good.
over. That case is over. Now, just as a word of caution, that there still is the case pending in federal court. But the state court case is over.
Something, Mr. McClure, it's not on your notes. I have a question. Are we getting any feedback how well the schools are doing with the vouchers?
Well, we don't have them out yet, right? I mean,
Some schools do have them.
yeah, okay, come on, Tina, give them.
The schools are distributing the vouchers. They're in the process of getting the approved list to all the ISPs. So it's slow trickling in. I think I literally got a bill for like one voucher at this point, but they are getting out there. So it's just a matter of time. And I know county executive is looking to put that out a little bit more to the press to garner some additional interest.
That was my next question. Thanks. That's it.
Thanks, Tina.
So anybody else want to pick his brain, or are we finished picking? Seeing none? Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Had enough picking for one.
yeah. All right, so we're going to go to old business. First item of old business I have these new flaps. They're supposed to stop fogging your glasses, but I don't know. All right. Public hearing on the ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the Northampton County Council authorizing the County of Northampton, Easton, Pennsylvania, to lease approximately 2,400 rentable square feet of space at 31C West First Street, Wind Gap, Pennsylvania, from Joseph Depew, Pennsylvania. Mr. Giovanni and Ms. Zirinsky introduced this ordinance on the September 3rd, 2020 meeting. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, discussion. Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Giovanni,
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
Mr. Heckman,
Yes.
Mr. Lot,
Yes.
Mr. McGee,
Yes,
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner,
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic,
Yes.
Ms. Ferraro.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. And let me point out again, I often do, that many of these items, in fact, most of them are discussed at committee meetings, so if it seems like we don't really say anything about them, generally, we've had a lot to say about quite a few of them. All right, so the second item I have is a public hearing on the ordinance entitled, An Ordinance of the Northampton County Council authorizing the County of Northampton, Easton, Pennsylvania, to lease approximately 3,500 rentable square feet of space at 1214 Stefco Boulevard, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, from Dieter Family Limited Partnership. Ms. Vargo Hefner and Mr. Myers introduced this ordinance at the September 3rd, 2020 meeting. Are there any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, discussion? And I believe these are, just so we can clarify, these are the district magistrate offices, so. Everybody is. All right, no discussion, let's call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro. Ms. Ferraro.
Me? I'm sorry, I'm having a terrible time hearing tonight.
It's the mess.
I know, I can't stand
Ms. Ferraro, they still need to vote.
I'm sorry, yes, of course.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
All right. Good. Is there any other old business to discuss?
I have my hearing.
Seeing none, let's go to new business. First, we have the consideration of personnel requests, resolutions,
My hearing aids.
Department of Administration, elections. Mr. McGee, would you introduce the resolution, please?
Yes, and I have the amended version in front of me. It is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council that 10 temporary positions of clerical technician 2, pay grade CS 131A, salary of $30,962 for a total amount of $309,620 be created in the Department of Administration Elections effective September 17th, 2020. It is further hereby resolved, this resolution will be in effect until December 31st, 2020. At that time, County Council will review the need to continue and implement the provisions of this resolution. So
Very
moved.
good. Discussion. We had a great presentation yesterday from Ms. Cozy, and I think, she made a good point. We all want this to work. So seeing that's it, let's call for the vote.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Vargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes,
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
thank you. All right, next we have consideration of a resolution to accept a donation of face masks to the Department of Corrections. Ms. Hefner, would you introduce this resolution?
Now therefore it is hereby resolved by Northampton County Council that it does hereby authorize the county executive to accept on behalf of the Northampton County Department of Corrections the donation of 3 face masks per employee from Concept SAD.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Pretty much standard practice. Call for the vote.
Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Okay. Next, we have consideration of a resolution approving funding for Small Business Development Center of Lehigh University via the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant. Mr. Lott, would you introduce the resolution?
Sure. Now therefore it be resolved by the Council of Northampton County, 1, that the allegation of COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant totaling $500,000 is approved, that the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements to the effectual the COVID-19 Small Business Technical Assistance Program with the Small Business Development Center of Lehigh University.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have consideration of a resolution approving funding for Ben Franklin Technology Partners of Northeastern Pennsylvania via the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant. Mr. Lott?
Now therefore Now therefore be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, one, that the allocation of COVID-19 county relief block grant totaling $504,849.96 is approved. That the county executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grant agreements to the effectual the COVID-19 Enterprise Program with Ben Franklin Technology Partnerships of Northeastern Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on this? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Lot?
Yeah, aye.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yay.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of a resolution approving funding for Northampton County College via the COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant. Mr. Lott, yours
Now-
again.
Now therefore it be resolved by the Council of the County of Northampton, one, that the allocation of COVID-19 County Relief Block Grant totaling $200,000 is approved. That the County Executive of the County of Northampton is authorized to execute any and all necessary grants agreements to effectuate the COVID-19 Business Community Risk and Recovery Awareness Training Program with Northampton Community College.
Thank you. Discussion. Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mr. Lot?
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky?
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic?
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro?
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni?
Yes.
Mr. Heckman?
Yes.
Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Fargo Hefner?
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of a resolution approving reimbursement of COVID-19 related expenses to the general fund from Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security CARES Act funding. Ms. Vargo Hefner, would you introduce this resolution?
Now therefore be it resolved that Northampton County Council directs the Department of Fiscal Affairs to reimburse $2,500,000 of the hazard pay and information technology expenses by drawing from the CARES Act funding to reimburse the county's general fund.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Mr. Kusick?
Yeah, one of the things that came up yesterday was, first of all, how much money was left, and then whether or not there would be another round for some of our municipalities that did not participate last time. And I see Ms. Smith is here. I was wondering if she could maybe tell us about the process and whether or not there would be another round for our municipalities that.
There will be another round for our municipalities. So those municipalities that were late or couldn't get on the first exhibit, there will be an Appendix B, and they will get funded. Thank you. You're welcome.
Can you tell us how much?
We're working, so we're not rushing the accountants on that. I've found that making them rush to tell me something is not always a good idea. So we're in the 2 to 3 million range, I think, Steve?
Okay.
2 to 3 million left? Yeah, okay.
Got it.
But that's an approximation.
Mr.
Right, Mr. Lott, and then Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Did we reach back out to the municipalities? How did we reach back out? The ones that didn't apply, or did we?
We had multiple contacts with them.
Multiple, that's just so important that we're touching base with them.
Yeah,
And I
4,
just keep hearing that
5.
from you guys, and I just want to hear that.
Yeah, multiple contacts.
Thank you.
There's
no excuse now. They know about it. They've had time. We
Yes.
can't do anything but fill their paperwork out for them, correct?
That's
I mean,
correct.
we're down to that point, right?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Ms. Hefner, did you have a question?
I just wanted to point out that yesterday I asked for some financial summaries, and Mr. Barron provided that. You have that as supplemental material regarding both the hazard pay and the breakout costs for the IT are here as well.
No.
I thank him for that.
Yeah. Are there any other, I know we had a robust discussion about whether, since a fire truck is an emergency vehicle, maybe we could get a bridge money from COVID if we
That was pretty
kept
amazing.
working deduction.
That's a
the
Led
logical,
Zeppelin song.
but I don't know, that we never came to a conclusion on that. But I still think the right lawyer at the right place could possibly make that happen. But anyway,
One can
okay.
dream.
Any more discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote.
Mrs. Fargo Hefner.
Yes.
Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mrs. Ferraro.
Yes.
Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lot.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you. All right, next I have consideration of an Article 13 contract, BSI corporate benefits. Ms. Vargo Hefner, would you please introduce the resolution?
Now therefore be it resolved that the Northampton County Council does hereby concur with the recommendation of the county executive as set forth in the attached documentation to approve a contract with BSI Corporate Benefits.
Is there any discussion? We had an extended meeting yesterday, and gentleman's back there. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your name.
Mr. Hughes?
Mr. Hughes? No, I mean, does anyone have any questions for him? You don't have to come up. Oh, come on up, sir. And would you identify yourself, please? And Ms. Zirinsky apparently has a question for you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Sean Hughes with BSI Corporate Benefits.
Hi, Sean.
How you doing?
Go ahead.
Do you want to go first? So, you're the pharmaceutical consultant?
We're the overall healthcare consultant, so pharmacy is one piece of it, but the medical, the pharmacy, the dental, the vision, life, disability, kind of all falls under our.
Okay, so there's no, what is it called, a BSI?
There's,
Yeah, the pharmacy consultant, okay, so make sure, I'm trying to read my notes, and I have to go back and forth, and it's like confusing me, sorry. So, does the contract allow the controller to directly go to you and evaluate what's going on without intervention from the administration?
does the controller evaluate our work that we're doing?
Yeah,
I
I think we
believe.
need an answer maybe from somebody
You want to try and address that?
in the
I
administration,
think I understand what she's saying.
because we don't have the controller here tonight.
So while Mr. Basile isn't here, yes, the controller is allowed to, because it's a standard contract.
Okay.
There's language that was put in there. And the controller can audit at any time the health insurance trust fund, which is where we put all the money that pays those bills. So BSI never touches the money. That would be fiscal affairs. And Mr. Basile can come talk to me anytime about that.
okay.
If I may, if I can interject, and Mr. Barron's been around, was a controller for quite a while. If I'm not mistaken, whether the controller themselves or council would request, or the administration, the controller can look at anything and review audit anything they want.
You and I both read that yellow book 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I think the controller's mandate is very limited in the charter itself, but council can ask
Right.
the controller to look at anything.
And we all know there was periods where that was done on a regular basis.
And almost all, if I'm not mistaken, almost all of our contracts account for the fact that our controller needs to be able to audit them.
Yeah, I
Right.
just wanted to throw that in there.
So
You're
I
right, the
took,
controllers,
I did take notes yesterday, and I'm just trying to get through all my questions. So if there's any big swings in drug pricing, how do you justify those swings, and then how do we get compensated for them?
We don't get compensated at all.
You
So-
don't,
No,
but
I
do
mean, well,
we
we
pay
get
for those?
compensated, like what you spend on, what the county spends on their drug,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not it goes up, down, left, right, or whatever, our compensation is not impacted by your pharmacy spend whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
Now, our job is to monitor your drug spend, to find those opportunities, that wasteful spend opportunity. And that's what we were just meeting with the administration about, looking at different formularies. We did a pharmacy RFP and looked at other options that are out there.
Okay.
And we're in the process of finalizing what that solution is for 2021.
Yeah, because this was the question that I was trying to ask yesterday, and I just couldn't get the right words out. So, do we take a fixed discount or a rebate on the drugs?
Yeah, right now you are set up where you're getting the rebates passed back to the county. So the way it works, like brain
Okay.
and specialty medication, there are very high cost medication, and then there's a rebate that comes back from the manufacturer.
Okay.
The way the county is set up right now, that rebate comes back directly to the county. So they pay their claims, and then it's usually a 90 to 120-day lag, and then that rebate comes back to the county.
Okay. Are we tied to an actual pharmacy?
Right now, your pharmacy is through Capital Blue Cross, and they use Prime Therapeutics as the PBM behind the scenes. To the employee, it's still a Capital Blue Cross card, but the PBM, that's the pharmacy benefit manager, behind the scenes is Prime Therapeutics. But that's one of the things when we did the RFP, we looked at different carve-out options, and basically carving out to the employee would feel like I got 2 ID cards. I have my medical through Capital Blue Cross, and then my prescription plan runs through someone else. That could be Express Scripts, that could be a CVS Caremark, which it's not just CVS, it's a large national network. You have Optum, you have Script Sourcing, there's a lot of other options, and we looked at all those options. And the way we did it was a line-by-line claims reprice, and basically looked at their pricing kind of underneath the hood of who had that better pricing. What we're in the process of finalizing a deal with Capital and Prime that improves that pricing to the point where we don't think it makes sense to carve the pharmacy out.
Oh, okay.
But that is something we look at every single year for the county.
So when somebody, so let's just say a county employee goes, what pharmacy would they use? Could they use any pharmacy of their choice?
It's as close to the phone book as you can possibly get.
Okay, so they're not, they don't have, they can shop, but they can go to the one that they're used to or closest to them or something like that.
That's correct. I mean,
So we're not locked into anything, we're not preferential to one over another, got it.
That's
Okay,
correct.
So
And one
there's
of the things-
transparency there.
Yeah, and one of the things we do is really educate employees, because Capital Blue Cross has a tool where they can go out there and they can cost shop different prescriptions at different pharmacies. Especially in the HSA plan, they pay the cost of the prescription. They can go out to the Capital tool and you can see exactly what that price would be at CVS, Walmart, Rite Aid, whatever the pharmacy they want to look at.
Yeah, because yesterday I was talking about using the GoodRx card.
Right.
And so sometimes you get charged with a copay, but the actual drug, if you use the GoodRx card, would be lower. And I think what I understand you saying is that if you used the copay, it goes towards your deductible, which helps you in that way, but you'd have to evaluate that, whether or not you want to use that GoodRx card. So
That's-
either it goes to your deductible or you're paying a smaller fee. But then I think you said too, something about the generic versus the
brand and stuff.
brand,
Yep.
you know?
Yeah, GoodRx is something that really promotes brand utilization, is what it ultimately does. Because even though that looks like that prescription is cheaper to you at that particular time, the manufacturer is reimbursing the pharmacy because they want to get that person on that higher cost drug. When GoodRx originally came out, you kind of did get the double win because pharmacies would allow you to still run it through your insurance. So
Yeah.
you'd have the option of kind of not using the GoodRx and then paying your copay, or the deductible. A lot of the HSA plan tracks towards the deductible, but now the pharmacies are not accepting both.
Right.
So if you use the GoodRx card, which employee can do and anyone can do, it's a free program to anyone, they can do that. It's just not tracking towards their deductible.
What I noticed with the pharmaceuticals though, is that the price of the drug fluctuates so much.
It's outrageous.
That, yeah, so if we're paying the cost for the pharmaceuticals, how do we know that we're getting the best price? I know there's a national average drug acquisition cost. So do we compare that cost? I mean, are we always having to evaluate this? Because it seems like the market fluctuates so rapidly that it would take a lot to do that all the time.
It's taken a lot of years off my life, to be honest with you, but we look at it every year. So
Okay.
every year
So you
we're
look at it once a
evaluating.
year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really look at it every month.
Right.
But, because you ultimately are also locking into, what sits behind the scenes of a pharmacy contract are really two main things. On a pricing standpoint, they have guarantees that says your retail, your generic, your brand, your specialty will perform at a certain rate, right? So we're evaluating to make sure that they're performing in that certain rate. Same thing on the rebate. There's ultimately a rebate guarantee. Even though those rebates are coming back dollar for dollar, there's a guarantee that sits behind the pharmacy contract with Capital and all the others that they have to hit a certain number. If they don't hit that certain number, then there's a reimbursement that comes back to the county. Capital and Prime, they hit it last year. So they hit all their guarantees they hit, which means that you kind of overachieve from a pricing standpoint. Because let me give you an example.
Oh, okay, so we actually benefited from that.
Correct.
I got that. Okay,
Correct.
great.
If they underachieve,
Yeah, then we're-
sometimes you get money back, but it also means that you kind of paid more for prescriptions and those kinds of things.
But it's it's less of a risk to do that because we might actually lose. Might actually pay more because of the fluctuation of price?
No. I mean, you're always going to play with the prices, but at the end of the year, there is actually called a settlement.
Yeah.
Where we look at and say, well, how did they actually perform? Like, there's a discount. Like, I don't know if this is the exact number, don't quote me on this, but generics are usually, they have to perform around an 83% discount off of AWP. That's average wholesale price. If they come in at 82%, that means they didn't achieve the 83%. They owe the county money back because all the generics averaged out 82% off the average wholesale price. That way money comes back. But if they overachieve and they come in at which they did, they came in, again, I'm making up a number here, I don't know off the top of my head. If they came in at 84%, you're not getting money back, but they did better than what they guaranteed you.
Oh, okay.
That's something, again, we look at every year, no matter who the PBM is, to make sure they're actually achieving those numbers. for
Well,
you.
if I may, you were saying yesterday that you're always reviewing.
Yeah, every year. And we're also, and that's why we're looking at different formularies, because formulary does come with disruption, because formulary may exclude certain drugs.
Right.
And we want to make sure we're not excluding drugs that someone's been on for 10 years and it's going to disrupt their life. But there's a lot of wasteful drugs out there. There's ones that are cream and ointments that are the exact same thing, but the ointment's 2 times the price. Well, let's get that off of there.
Wow.
Right? Those are the things that we look at on a constant basis and get them off. So we're not disrupting employees' care, but we're getting things that are just truly wasteful, out of that spend for you.
Yeah. I'm sorry, do you have any more questions?
No, I think that answered all my questions.
Yeah,
I really
the only thing
appreciate
I would
it.
sum it up
But
with, I wish pharmacy was simpler.
No, it's
But
it's
it's
very
something
complicated.
that, it's something we are constantly monitoring for you to make sure that we're keeping that spend as low as we possibly
I
can.
think
Yeah,
that's why
because I
we hire
think the
you.
county, sometimes counties lose money in this way by making that risk of the fixed discount or the rebate, and you have to figure out which one's best for you. And since we're paying that, we want to make sure that we're fiscally responsible.
Yeah, well, and that's one of the things, if the rebate that they're gonna basically, because sometimes they'll give you a rebate off the ASO fee, so you pay a lower admin fee. If they're gonna give you a bigger guaranteed rebate than when we think the rebates are gonna be, then that's something we will look at.
Will you be here a little bit? Because we're almost done, because then you'll be able to have a chat with them. Maybe you want to get into something really specific with them.
No, I just,
I want to let Mr. McGee, he has a question.
yeah, no problem. Thank you so much.
Not a
That
problem.
really explained
Anytime.
everything to me.
Okay.
Thank you, and thanks for coming out again tonight. I missed last night, and I apologize, it was work-related. And I did watch the whole video, and it was very informative, and the questions I thought were, there was one thing, the step therapy, do we have that going on? And do you have any idea what the percentage rate of the generic is in the county? I'm not trying to, if you
I
don't
can-
have it, you can get it to me later, or if you can get it to me, I don't
Yeah,
know.
don't hold me to the exact number, but I know it's between 88 and 90%.
That's really good.
Yeah, and that's
really good.
somewhat, the average, the norm's around 86%.
Yeah.
So I know the county is outperforming because we just did a claim review, and I know it was over from a generic. Now, one of the things that helps that is the HSA. So the
Okay.
HSA puts the cost of drugs right out there in front of employees, and that's where you'll see them switch to the generic very quickly. So the HSA helps, and then we constantly doing education to try and drive it down as well.
Okay.
Because every point that you can increase your generic saves you about 3% on your drug spend.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I learned a lot from listening to you. I appreciate you coming back tonight. One more thing, the stop loss. What level are you at on stop loss? Can you report that to us or
Yeah,
no?
the stop loss level, the deductible is a $350,000 deductible. So the county pays every dollar up to $350,000. and then the stop-loss carrier pays every dollar after that. That's where we have there's a fixed premium. And this year, we're starting that RFP right now. That happens a little later because they want claims experience as close to January as they can get. And we do have some challenges there because there's some high claimants that we're
And you
dealing with
shop that every year?
every single
Okay.
year.
Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Mr. Myers, I think you had a question, or you don't? Mr. Lott, did you? I couldn't tell what hands were around. Anybody on this side? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
That's good, thank you.
All right, any further discussion up here? Seeing none, let's call for the vote.
Ms. Fargo Hefner. Ms. Zirinsky.
Yes.
Mr. Kuzic.
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro. Mr. Giovanni.
Yes.
Mr. Heckman.
Yes.
Mr. Lott.
Yes.
Mr. McGee.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Adopted by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you very much. Now, that's all I have on the agenda for new business. Is there any new business a council member wants to discuss? Seeing none, let's go to council committee reports. Council committee reports, why don't we start, Mr. Myers, why don't you do one?
We had,
Can we go back 1 second?
Go back to what?
New business?
New business, all right?
I wanted to untable the ordinance that we talked about.
Are you on, your mic on, or?
I am, but it keeps reverberating.
All right, go ahead.
I wanted to untable the ordinance about the pumping station at Louise Moore.
we can't do anything.
Oh, she wants,
Untable.
Ms. Vargo Hefner said she wants to untable,
No,
Ms.
You-
Fargo
I'm
Hefner
tired.
said not one word.
Zirinsky.
I'm sorry,
I'm Tara Zirinsky.
you sound
Thank
alike.
you.
Ms. Zirinsky wants to untable the pumping station ordinance at Louise Moore Park.
Is there a second?
We had a discussion, and it was discussed in
Executive.
In executive.
where we were concerned about certain issues. I think those issues may still be ongoing.
Those issues have been resolved.
Is there a second? We shouldn't be discussing this
Yes, is
unless
there a
there's
second to the
Well, all right.
untable?
Is there a second to take, I'm sorry, you're right. I apologize, because it caught me off
We need
guard.
to, sorry,
That's okay, that's part of the job. All right, is there a second to Ms. Zirinsky wanting to bring it off the table? All right, it fails for lack of a second. Okay. All right, I would say, going forward, you know,
yes.
by the
okay.
next meeting, maybe you want to talk to some, you know, and I apologize, I shouldn't have got into a discussion, but I think my head was still with the PSI guy. All right, any other new business to discuss? Seeing none, Mr. Myers, you want to pick up? Were you-
Committee, we had a Courts and Corrections meeting earlier, and we've got updates on mental and abuse court and alcohol, and it was a very good meeting, and we also heard from the prison authority, and everything's going well over there.
Thank you. Any other? Ms. Vargo Hefner.
Finance and Personnel held their meeting yesterday. We took care of a lot of business, which was handled this evening. Thank you all for attending.
Good. Anybody else? Mr. Lott?
Economic Development Committee met yesterday. We reviewed the different CARES Acts that we voted on today. I also attended Lehigh Valley Economic, their board meeting. They went over the Lehigh Valley economy and, you know, basically how bad they think the pandemic is or is not going to hurt the valley. They think, you know, just to really sum it up, they think we're going to do better in the Lehigh Valley because we're so diversified in our business between, you know, manufacturing and our colleges and our hospitals. And we have a very diverse business group out there. So they think that's going to help us, especially with our logistic business out there. It has actually been doing better through the unfortunately through the pandemic. But anyway, so that's my report.
Thank you. Any other reports?
We have a planning commission,
sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
get
go ahead.
recognized. We have a planning commission meeting coming up next Thursday, which I will attend.
All right. I'm going to slowly.
Is that
turn-
online?
It is online.
Zoom.
Yeah, it is online. It's not Zoom. They use Teams. They use Teams, but you don't have to be on Teams to get on. If you go to their website and on the right-hand side, Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, you can see, they have a link there. Click on the link, or you can call in on the number. And, yeah, they encourage the public to.
What time is it? What time?
7:30,
O'clock at night? Okay.
7.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it then, Mr. McGee, for you?
Yeah, that's all.
Anybody
Thank
on
you.
this side of the table? Anybody on this side? Let's go to liaison reports. We'll start over here, Ms. Zirinsky's end. Anything over here? Mr. Giovanni's end? Anything over here? I see nothing. We'll end that. All right. Is there a council clerk report? Okay. Solicitor?
No.
Very good. I ask for a motion to.
Motion to adjourn.
Whatever you can get out of that, Ms. Aileen, you just take it.
Been a long dang day.
Somebody, of all of those,
Second.
the second, and then we'll go.
What is this?
Thank you.
Did we get this?
That's, Steve broke down what we asked yesterday.
Oh.